What's going on, people? It's your boy Travis, Horror Movies Uncut, Submissions and Slashers. We are back. Episode number 53, the Submissions and Slashers podcast, where we are here once again to give you guys some news, updates, and info, possibly some reviews and interviews of everything going on in the independent genre film industry. So how you guys doing? It is Wednesday, February the 7th. It's right at about 1:30 in the afternoon. I am knocking out this podcast for you today. I got a couple things that we're going to be jumping into, and then I got to go watch my Celtic boys get in some work against that Hibernian fam. You know how we get in with that cinch Scottish Premier League. But I hope you guys doing good on this hump day. I'm doing well. I'm here. I'm happy to be here. If you don't know who I am, I'm Travis Brown from the illustrious family known as Horror Movies Uncut, also the host of the Submissions and Slashers podcast. As always, make sure you are following us at all the appropriate channels. Follow at HMUNCUT, every single social media platform. That's going to find Horror Movies Uncut, which is the home of the Submissions and Slashers podcast. If you're just searching on YouTube, or you're just searching on Spotify or one of those outlets for your podcast, make sure you search Submissions and Slashers. You will find us. Hit those likes, hit those subscribes. Please leave us some feedback. Let us know what's going on out there, folks. Episode number 53, 2024. We rolling. What's on today's show? All right. So I am not necessarily allowed to give you guys a review for the film Sting, but I'm going to talk about it a little bit. And I really did enjoy it. So that's one of the reasons why I'm going to give a little nod here and there, a couple 5 to 10 minutes of something going on that you should know about the film. But then I'm going to leave it at that. And then once we get closer to the release date in April, we'll give it the full throttle review like you guys know we do on Horror Movies Uncut. Or as homegirl Stacey Valdez. Oh, by the way, can I give February birthday shout outs real quick? Can I do that on my own shit? Y'all good with that? Stacey Valdez and Jill Six, two of my pagan sisters from other misters is the best way to say it. I'm very, very happy to be friends with both those very strong-minded young women, and I just want to give them a big birthday shout out from the heart, from the fam at HMU, as Stacey would always call Horror Movies Uncut. So big birthday shout out to you ladies, and big up to Jill, of course, because we know we got some details about that movie of hers dropping pretty soon as well. And it's already got the IMDb page. I think it's called Ghost Game. I think that's the name of it, Off the Top of the Dome. I apologize if I made a mistake for that. But, just wanted to give them some birthday love because they are extended fam who I always look forward to see. Hopefully I can see Stacey in 2024. Like, that's a kind of a personal goal of mine. And I'm hoping she will join me like down at Fantastic Fest or something this year, so we can do some old school Horror Movies Uncut back and forth type stuff. So anyway, happy birthday, ladies. Moving on the rest of the show, we're going to be talking about that new film that everyone's kind of been getting a little glimpse of. It's called Long Legs. It's the new Neon film that stars Alicia Witt and Nicolas Cage. And we're going to chit-chat a little bit about what we've seen so far and kind of what we're expecting from the film. We got a review for the outrageous Fantastic Fest and other festival hit film, The Invisible Fight. Of course, we got some weird news from last week, and it's about a Burr situation where big budget action thriller to see. We got one. We got one this week. Indie film shout outs from below the grave. We got one. And we got a little love to Fantastic Fest of last year on this one too. And then there is some stuff to talk about that's streaming next week. So we got a What the Hell is streaming next week. So we got the full gauntlet, man. But we've been able to knock these out within about a half an hour time frame. So we're going to kind of keep that rolling. And what we're going to do is we're going to jump right back in and talk about this film Sting from Well Go USA. that I think you guys are going to really, really be looking forward to in April. So don't you go anywhere. Make sure you hit all the likes and subscribes. We'll be right back. Submissions and Slashers, episode 53, re-rolling. Don't go anywhere. Okay, people, welcome back. Submissions and Slashers, episode number 53. We are talking about a film that's going to be hitting April 12th in theaters. If it's not in theaters in your area, more than likely it's going to be on demand. It is from the lovely distribution company Well Go USA, and it is a nice little creature flick that we've been talking about on HMU's website for the past couple days. It's called Sting. So, first and foremost, it's not a scorpion movie, it's not a bee movie, and it's not a mosquito movie, kind of similar to a film that was out not too long ago that used practical effects to really try to highlight that it's kind of better to use these when you're doing the monster movies than the CGI stuff. Funny that we're talking about a film like this when today we get the trailer drop for the very, very first, or the prequel, if you may, prequel of prequels of A Quiet Place. So we've now had A Quiet Place 2, and now we got Day One, which is going to be dropping this summer, June, my birthday month, and it's a big alien monster movie. So for sure, a lot different than this, because this is a small alien monster movie that just kind of becomes a big thing. So I'm going to be looking forward to the reviews when they start coming in. I've actually watched this once. I'm going to check it out again. I hate spiders, man. So I'm going to be honest with you. It was tough for me to watch this movie. And there's a couple other films. There's the French film that we talked about on HMU a couple months ago that's using the tree spiders for their, I think it's called vermin. I believe it's vermin. And, when it's a lot of spiders, that's what really gets me. So knowing that Sting kind of was more revolving around one spider, it allowed me to say, okay, let me get my punk ass in front of the screen and watch this movie. But man, hey, isn't that what horror movies are about, right? You're supposed to be scared. You don't want to watch this shit. Alila. I think it's Alila. It's either Alila or Alayla. I think it's Alila. Alila Brown, who plays Charlotte, which is a great name for the movie. She is Kai Roach's Turner's star of the film, who really, outside of the spider itself and the group, I think it's Wetwork, they really, really stand out more than anything. But she just snatches the film from the minute you see her, because it's hard not to like any films involving that Ramona type character that's just like that badass little girl that's running around doing something she ain't supposed to be doing. Because any kid film, if you see the kid that's doing something they're not supposed to be doing, you get invested instantly, right? So the thing that I will say about Sting is for its context, it's still a little bit more of a mature adult film than it is a kid's movie, so I'd be weary about that. Jermaine Fowler, man, what are you in next? Seriously, if you saw him in The Blackening, he was probably one of the funniest characters in that. Pretty much everything this dude has been in, he was in Coming to America too. Everything he's been in, it's been pretty funny the minute he gets on screen. So things do not change when you see Sting, and I think that's something that's going to really kind of grab the audience. But really, everyone from Ryan Core and to Penelope Mitchell, all the inhabitants of the household and the apartment building, there's a great dynamic that you guys are going to be able to watch when you see Sting. So I'll be looking forward to digging in a lot more on the film. Make sure you keep following HMU's coverage of Sting. Hopefully we'll be able to get an interview with Kai and talk to him about this film. It's mentioned in the press release that a lot of this is from his own fears of spiders, which is a true thing, man. I think arachnophobia is probably one of the top fears people have outside of heights and clowns, So if somebody was to make a very tall clown spider, movie, you would probably make the scariest film of all time, even though that's kind of like what Tim Curry looked like in it. That's just my opinion. So, all right, that's our little quick thoughts on Sting. Like I said, we want to dig in a little bit more on it, but kind of not allowed to because the film's not going to be released to April. They still got some post-production stuff going on with it. We are just happy that we've been people with Wellgo USA for such a long time that they've been able to send us copies of all these great films. We have that film, The Moon, that we talked about on the podcast. I think it was like episode 48 or something. That I'll be watching hopefully eventually. But I just got like the Book of Clarence and stuff to watch today. So I'm gonna have to dig in on that real quick. Though that's actually what I'm gonna be doing when I get done. Oh no, after the Celtic game. After that. So anyway, but after this, we're gonna come back and talk about this Long Legs movie because it's the thing that I think it's, right now, the best thing about horror films and just films in general right now is anticipation. You're getting those first glimpses of the summertime blockbusters. You're getting like all the last information of all the spring films that are coming your way. And then the films that are being released right now are usually films that were darlings in festival circuits within the last 6 to 8 months. So it's a perfect time to be a film fan at this current moment as you go into every single new year, because like I said, you have the hope of the anticipation from the glimpses and the teases of the stuff that's being kind of sent to you and sprinkled to you coming up. But then you are now finally getting to see some of those gems that you heard about over the last festival circuits and things that you might have missed from the previous summers and spring. So one of the films that everybody seems to be talking about is this Long Legs film. So we're going to come back and talk about that. And I've been meaning to say this for like the last 3 minutes. So all right, welcome back. Submissions and Slashers, episode number 53. There's people in this world that like I have to text my mama and be like, did you know Blair Underwood's still out there making movies? You know what I'm saying? Because like, I don't care what color you are. I don't care where you're from. You know your mom, you know your dad. Somebody's got a favorite actor, actress, or some music star that they love and dear. And when you see them pop up out of nowhere on the most unexpected stuff, you instantly think, oh man, I gotta tell my mama this. I gotta tell my daddy this, right? So even though we're getting this creepy kind of almost what I feel looks like Sinister when that movie was out, and Insidious and all that stuff was out at the same time too, but Sinister, by using like the camera and using that footage, the home movie aspect, it allowed it to kind of separate itself, in my opinion, from some of the other movies at that time, because it was more pushing those retro limits that we see like everybody doing now, that like a franchise like VHS capitalized on, So when I see the initial posters, when I see the initial teaser for the Oz Perkins film, Long Legs, starring Blair Underwood, Nicolas Cage, Alicia Witt, who, like, real talk, man, that old school crush of mine. I just cannot lie. Like, it's just something about tall redhead women at that time. Still to this day, honestly. Makia Monroe, she plays Lee Harker, which is an FBI agent, and she's assigned to unsolve this serial killer case. And the case starts to show some things of the occult, and then the case also starts to show some stuff that hits her a little close to home. Not a lot is being given. It's almost like you're just kind of watching the evidence. I understand why that tactic works, because like we do have this true crime obsessive society out there. So when you are showing someone, like, hey, here's the photos from the scene of the crime, and here's like what the police officer said. Like, I mean, I've actually been in a city hall before and have read, those those files the police files that they have in there where they talk about what they saw at the scene of the crime. And I mean, I got hooked on that for like 2 hours, and it was just usually 2 to 3 page 2 to 3 sentence paragraphs, young black male stabbed in throat in hallway kitchen blood. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what it was. So, I don't know, but I'm excited. I'm more excited just to see really what's their next kind of marketing angle. It's so easy, man. It's so easy just to take these films and really not allow the audience to become a part of it. So kudos to Neon, kudos to Oz and everybody involved, because right from the start, it looks like their number one intention is to kind of make you a part of this case, this serial killer case. And maybe that's just because I've been like rewatching every episode of True Detective, getting ready to watch the new season. And I know the new season's already going. Y'all ain't gonna say nothing. All right, I know it's going. I'm gonna catch up. Okay, some people got things to do. But looking into it, there's things with symbology. You see like Lilith symbols. You see all different types of satanic symbols that's being written, and of course, there's kind of like an Amityville vibe going on when you hear or see, kind of like this father interaction that's going on. But the little teaser looks dope. I got a feeling it'll more than likely be one of the most talked about horror films of the year, and hopefully it'll be one of the better horror films of the year. Cast is no joke. Blair Underwood is in this. You know what I'm saying? Let me see if I can get a hold of my peoples. See if I can get Chelsea Peters in my peoples, Clay Dollars, and all of them folks to get me some interviews with Blair Underwoods so I can have him talk to my mama. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't even say anything. I would just sit back and be like, Mom, there you go. Say what you got. Ask him what you want to say, What was he on? L.A. Law? Is that what I used to watch her? Like, she used to watch L.A. Law or something. He was on one of them shows like forever. So, yeah. I'm excited to see Long Legs. I think it'll be one of the films that'll kind of pack the theaters once more people start getting their eyes on the teaser and stuff. Okay, let me hop on out before I gas out on this section. I need to get a drink of water, and then we're gonna come back. Time for us to actually give a review, and we're going to talk about, this outrageous heavy metal kung fu ninja movie called The Invisible Fight, that I got, some kind of mixed thoughts about. So if you like to hear them, if not, whatever, you're listening right now, just make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can listen all the time. Submissions and Slashers, episode 53, will be back. Don't go anywhere. All right, people. We have returned. This is episode number 53 of the Submissions and Slashers podcast. As always, make sure you are following us at HMUNCUT on all platforms. That is where you will find us. That is where you will find Horror Movies Uncut. You will read reviews. You will see interviews, which we are lining up as we speak. And then you will also find just your daily information and tidbits of what's going on in the film industry, but more catered to your independent genre films. So your action, your sci-fi, your horror films, and your heavy metal kung fu comedy films. All right, so one of the films that was playing at Fantastic Fest that was, in a sense, going toe to toe with my homie's film that I was helping represent at Fantastic Fest this year, which was I'll Crush Y'all, right? Big shout out to my boys out there still killing it. Was this other comedy action film that involved fighting called The Invisible Fight. Now, Rainer Sarnet has created what I like to call just this like outrageous metalhead, mystical, weird kung fu-y movie. Okay, let's try that again. Metalhead, mystical, weird kung fu-y movie. Okay, because there's not a lot of real kung fu going on in this movie, but it is a lot of fooey going on in this movie. So The Invisible Fight is this tale where the border of USSR and China, these three heavy metal Chinese dudes hop over the border and beat the shit out of a Soviet army. There you go. After this, one of the survivors decides the only way that he's going to be able to, I guess, remain strong, or he's been left behind with purpose and reason, and that purpose and reason is for him to become like you know the next kung fu master. Okay, so he's got to find these monks. There's supposedly these monks that are in Russia that they're also Christians, and you know they want to like they live in society and they want to keep peace and they remain by themselves, but supposedly they know kung fu. So he is found by them and decides that he wants to try to be a monk so that he can become like the top monk and be the best at kung fu. But he also has this infinity for metal and, you know, bands like Black Sabbath and stuff like that, which is just something I was watching. Oh, that season 3 of True Crime. He's like, what's Black Sabbath? He's like, I think it's their band name. So crazy, man. I would not have wanted to live I couldn't even imagine what it would have been like me and a black man listening to Black Sabbath back then. But anyway, so, but it kind of would probably look like this because in all honesty, our main character in the movie, man, my dude like dances, he jumps up and down, he's kicking, and this is all before he starts to learn his kung fu. And it's almost like, you know, moments where it's like, are they making fun of kung fu hardcore, or are they just having fun 100%? And honestly, man, this is just a popcorn, like good time of a movie for people who can get a laugh out of like your Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon films and stuff like that. So for me, there was a lot of stuff like right when the film started that I was just loving. And I mean, like I said, and as a young man growing up listening to metal and kind of being an outsider within my own community, it really hit home on a lot of this stuff. And it was just such a joy to watch. As the film goes on, though, it started to kind of wean out and not really present itself with more to the table than what we were seeing. So it got to the point where I was kind of wanting the film to end, even though I was thoroughly entertained up to a certain point. But there is a pivotal kind of change in direction with a certain character in the film. And whenever that character kind of becomes more important in the film, for me, it's when it kind of let the film kind of fizzed out, you know. But overall, like 2.5 out of 5 here at Horror Movies Uncut, which means if you haven't seen it, you want to see something fun, you want to see something extraordinary, out of the ordinary, this is for sure the film you should see. All my fighter fam out there, y'all might want to leave this alone. I'm just going to be honest. Y'all might want to leave this alone. Yeah, The Invisible Fight. So It's going to be hitting pretty much every Alamo theater. You're going to have select screenings February 23rd. And really, you just kind of got to check and see if it's playing in your Alamo. I know we're getting it in Springfield, but I don't think we're getting it here in St. Louis. But there is a lot of places that's getting it. But we also have another theater that might. So The Invisible Fight, you do want to see this if you're looking for what could be labeled as the most outrageous comedy to kick off 2024. I think that's a pretty good shining endorsement right there. All right. So most of y'all want to leave this alone. Okay. If you don't like weird flying white people doing fake kung fu, do not watch this, okay? Because this is what this is. All right, so getting out of that, let's see. Okay, so we got some, what we'll do is we're going to jump right into this next segment, and then we'll break, come back, wrap it all up, because we can wrap up everything on the following segment. So, all right, people.
Weird news of last week.
Okay, so there's been a couple themes that we've had with animals. Like last week, there was a kid that was taping fish to ATM machines. You know, there's a lot of weird stuff, of course, that people do. You know, we are for sure not advocates of any violence or harm that's brought to any animals. We don't even give a shit. Like, we root for the shark. You know what I'm saying? In those situations, get y'all ass out the water, bitch. That ain't your house. That's his house. You know what I mean? Like, if the shark walk up in your house, you got every single right to shoot the motherfucker and eat his ass, right? But the minute you jump your ass off that boat, that's between y'all. You know, the shark is not allowed to wait for you to get back into the boat. Okay. So there is, I guess, some weird news that can happen where animals can be incarcerated. So we found this crazy story coming out of New Delhi where for 8 months, this prison held a kind of like carrier, you know, those carrier pigeons. They held the carrier pigeon a prisoner for 8 months because they thought the pigeon was a spy. Okay, let's now dig into point number one. Even if the pigeon is a spy, the motherfucker is not John Wick or James Bond. What the fuck is it gonna do? You know, like the pigeon's not gonna pull out a Desert Eagle from underneath its breastplate and just start fucking teeing off on people. Like, so what happened is they found this pigeon that they caught. The police in New Delhi, supposedly the pigeon had like 2 rings, and it had what looked to be Chinese writing on the rings attached to its leg. Now, when you read a little bit further into the story, you find out that it's kind of not uncommon for this area of the world to experience, in a sense, espionage through pigeons. There has been carrier pigeons that have been sent as late as 2016 to assassinate prime ministers. There's been pigeons in this area as late as 2020 that have been also caught and detained because they have assumed that these pigeons were some type of spy. I cannot get into the spy thing, man, because the motherfucker can't talk. Like, look, man, like, I get it. You could pass notes. Like the pigeon that they got in 2020, the main reason why they, like I was about to say, they pulled the pigeon over. This is how weird this shit is. In 2020, the pigeon that they captured and detained was a pigeon that they detained because it made it through this like battlefield being unscathed. So they just assumed that this pigeon has some shit going on. Maybe it was just the pigeon's lucky day. Who knows, right? But with this particular pigeon, they found these 2 rings, Chinese writing on there. So they arrested it. I guess. Do you fingerprint the pigeon? Please somebody give me the pigeon mug shots. Send me the pigeon mug shots. Come to find out, this pigeon is like a Taiwan, like low to the ocean, like they racing pigeon. Like there's these racing pigeons that they have that race very low to the surface of the ocean. And I guess these are indicators of the owner or what team or something that the pigeon's from. So once they found that out, contacted the owner, they were able to get the pigeon cleared and released. They better not let Mike Tyson know that they over there doing this to pigeons, because you know what I mean? If you think you got some problems going on over there right now, son, you don't want them problems. So, all right, we're going to hop back in to finish the show. Appreciate you guys as always. Episode number 53, getting in, getting out, submissions and slashers. Hit all the likes, subscribes, ask for Venmos and Cash Apps to send money and all of that stuff, because we'll be right back. All right, as we are getting set to wrap up episode number 53 of the Submissions and Slashers podcast, we are talking about our big budget action film of the week. Now, we all know that the Madame Web movie is coming out, and, you know, a lot of people just really despise like Marvel hero movies and stuff. Now, it's so funny how like that just like the shift in that, like where when they first came out, people were like, man, these are great and they're so well done. And now it's almost like it's a career killer or something if you have any association with what they like to call the green screen movies or the suit movies or something they call them, like the superhero suit movies or something. And for me, you know how I am, man. I'm like, y'all thinking about this shit way too much, you know. Madam Web might be great, kind of similar to Doctor Strange. My only personal thoughts on that is, you know, what you're hoping is I feel like you're kind of banking off of the kids that was in my son's generation that like grew up with like the Amazing Spider-Man on Cartoon Network and stuff, and they really dug into the Spider-Verse and then the Spider-Verse movie itself. So you really kind of have allowed like that generation to get a big glimpse of what's going on with Madam Web. So to then give her own movie, kind of like, you know, the Echo show that's on Disney that I'm trying to catch up on. That's not bad. You know, I just feel like maybe they should have somebody with her that does talk every once in a while, just to kind of keep some pacing up. But other than that, I mean, it's a very well done show. So this week, outside of that, since we didn't want to jump into anything superhero, there is kind of more of a military commando hero film called Land of Bad that's going to be coming out February 16th. So right after Valentine's Day, and it's out there, I believe, on certain places to get like Vudu and stuff like that. You could probably find it right now. Some places I think had an early release. William Eubank is the director. William's done some pretty good stuff. Liam Hemsworth, Russell Crowe, Milo Ventimiglia is also in this. Speaking of heroes, and it's just this kind of good shoot 'em up movie from what I saw. And when I got a chance to read the plot, it's about a rookie Air Force combat controller and a seasoned drone pilot who support a Delta Force team as they try to shift a mission gone wrong in a rescue operation. I was like, okay, it seems like something that would have a lot of action going on, more shoot 'em up, bang bang and flying than fighting. But hey, if we're going to cover everything in action, even I have to make sure that I'm showing some movies that kind of got a little bit more of a war feel. But this looks good, and the stunts look pretty good. So I got a feeling it'd be something that like my dad would enjoy. You know, like you got to have your mama movies and you got to have your dad movies, right? And your action films are usually that, but you got your mama movies that like action too. And if you got a mama that like action, she probably like that movie too. So Land of Bad. I don't know. The reviews from the initial screenings, they're all right. They look to be a little mixed. I would say like IMDb and those guys got it at about a 6.3. Let me see what them punks over at the Tomatoes have. Land of Bad. Land of Bad. So nothing on the tomato meter, nothing on the audience score. But they do have a link to the Fandango page. And it's pretty much coming to the theaters that I expected it to here in St. Louis. Yeah. AMC is, I feel like, still a little bit more talked about and well known than Marcus Warenberg theaters. But if you want to see genre films all the time, so horror, sci-fi, action films all the time, find your Marcus Warenberg theater. They usually, which even the smaller ones will usually for some reason show some of these obscure films that might also go direct to VOD, which this one looks like it will too. But it does get a theater run, and we got about 8 theaters in St. Louis, so that definitely qualifies to be that big budget action film. Okay. Indie film shout out from Below the Grave. We talked about this slightly earlier. We said there was another Fantastic Fest movie that we were going to talk about. And this is really along the lines of what we even mentioned before with kind of that retro stuff. If you remember High 8, which was like what you used in like little small camcorders and stuff, there was a time where like every single like family movie and things like that were being made on it. And then there became a time when people started kind of doing their own little documentaries and behind the scenes on stuff. Well, that also was a big time for urban lores and conspiracies and things that might be out in the woods that people may know of, some urban legends and things like that. And based off of supposedly, I've never really looked into this, there's an urban legend of the Loveland Frogman. Let me do it while we are live, right? And there's a movie called Frogman that was released last year that's loosely based off of kind of what's going on. But supposedly in Loveland, Ohio, the legend is that there was this kind of like frog man that was walking around on like its hind legs, right? And it, let's see, best way to say it. It's walking around on its hind legs, and they don't know like how long it's been there, if it's some like mutation from some chemical spill or something like that. So all types of things around. You know, some scientists and stuff said it's just like a tailless iguana that can get pretty big that was walking around that they probably saw. Regardless, if I saw a 4-foot iguana walking down the street, I'm fucking that. Like, I'm you running in the house or you running at it? You know what I mean? Like what? Because you don't need to see a 4-foot iguana walking down the street. That's like the size of a child walking down the street, or a very, very small human walking down the street. And if it's an iguana, you're like, hold on, dog, hold on, fam. You know? And if it's more than one, now we got a problem. You know? So Frogman is kind of loosely based on Anthony Cousins' film. It's a found footage movie. They're doing Cryptid Horrors is doing something cool where they're gonna actually drop a VHS, and we posted about this on HMU. Another one of those practical effect movies. So, like I said, you're gonna get so many more people saying, "All right, it's time to up the game on the practical effects," because unlike what you're gonna have to do with a big movie like Quiet Place, you're not gonna be able to rely on a lot of CGI. So in this kind of documentary, there's a 12-year-old named Dallas Kyle who captures footage of the Frogman, but nobody believes he's real. So 20 years later, he goes back. Now he's an amateur filmmaker, and his number one goal is to prove that Frogman is real. And this is one of those movies that I told myself, I'm like, Travis, you are not going to watch this in the theaters at Fantastic Fest because it's either going to be on too late for you, or it's going to be, you're going to have to go to the PI screener, and that's going to be so early for you that you're not going to really be able to dig into it. And the main reason why is because for some reason, and this happens to me sometimes when I watch the VHS movies too, when that high 8 shows up on my screen, I think it's because I was a little kid who used to fall asleep watching VHS tapes. I'll be knocked out when that graininess pops up on my screen so hard. I got to watch all that stuff in the middle of the daytime. So that's what I did. Instead of watching it at the theater, and I think the screening wasn't even that late for Frogman, but since I already had it myself, I just went back to my Airbnb in the middle of the day after I got finished with some red carpet stuff, and I watched it there. It's a lot to digest. I'm not going to lie. I wasn't the biggest fan of the film, but it's definitely got some things that will give nods and odes of love to the people who are fans of found footage. And then especially if you are a fan of kind of that urban legend, mythical story, creature, Bigfoot type of stuff, if you're fans of things like that, you're really going to like Frogman. And honestly, for them to kind of come out with this little VHS tape for it, that's kudos, because that is them thinking beyond the box and knowing who their audience is, and then also using, instead of allowing the media or the format to hurt the film, they're going to actually use that as a benefit by having it as a VHS, so it makes it more authentic. So this is going to actually be hitting VOD and digital platforms on March 8th. And if you are interested in getting that VHS, you need to hit Horror Movies Uncut website. About 2 days ago, we posted about Frogman, because you can get the VHS starting 2 days from now on the 9th. Okay. So that is our indie film shout out from below the grave. And then last but not least, what the hell is streaming next week? Okay, so Tuesday, you got some DVDs. Alice in Terrorland, which came across my desk a lot of times, and I just could not pull the trigger. Peacock. Cell Phone. Big shout out to Staley and folks. We wanted to review Cell Phone on this episode, but we just got the link sent right before I watched this. So before I started this episode. So, maybe I'll try to watch it. I'm going to try to watch it and review it for next week for sure, or next episode for sure. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2, limited theaters and release. What? Yeah. Not that the first one was by any means monumental, but it is the first one to take advantage of that copyright. So for them to come right back with a second one lets you know, hey, They're taking it and they banking off their success, man. They ain't doing nothing different than what the Sharknado people did. So I ain't mad at them. Get your Winnie the Pooh blood and honey money. You ain't gonna get none of that money from me though. Just saying. Stranger in the Woods is gonna be on VOD. That should be a great Valentine's Day movie to watch. And it's specifically coming out on Wednesday. All right. That's actually, hold on. Let me refresh. Holly Kinney, Brennan Brown, Olivia and her friends, they go on vacation. After Olivia nearly drowns with a slit wrist in her bathtub, her friends suspect that she killed herself, but she believes someone attacked her. It's a little thriller, whodunit kind of looking thing. Yeah. Hey, forget Halloween. If you want to know a great date night type of thing to snuggle up, like if you got the time and maybe food is not the biggest thing, or maybe you want to stay home and then hit them sheets later, you know what I'm saying? You know, do what you got, you know what I'm saying? Hopefully y'all do that shit more than Valentine's Day. Cause it's just a Wednesday. Hump day. Stranger in the Woods. If you got the time, watching a horror movie on Valentine's Day is great. Like, I'm not trying to act like I got experience on it. I'm just saying. Okay. No Way Up is going to be on Friday, February 16th. And then one of the films that we just posted a couple blurbs about yesterday, Monolith, February 16th, that Friday as well. All three of those, Stranger in the Woods, No Way Up, Monolith, all on VOD. Okay, so that's what's streaming. Next week, like I said, we're gonna do a review. We're gonna try to get you guys a review for Cell Phone. We also got Red Right Hand, which is a Southern action thriller that I'm very excited about. Orlando Bloom's in that. We're going to talk about some updates from SinQuest as we are getting some news coming from there. And then hopefully we'll have an update or even possibly a interview as we're waiting on a couple return feelers for some of these recent movies we've been talking about. But people, as always, we appreciate you. Episode number 53 in the books, Missions and Slashers. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, follow us on every single platform you can. We look forward to seeing you on the next one. Don't go anywhere. Until next time. Missions and Slashers, episode 53. We'll catch you on the next one. See ya. We are out.